There is a truth that few people ever stop to think about. Every empire, every queen, every kingpin in history has carried a scent. Some of those scents were born in temples, some in palaces, and some in the back rooms of dangerous trade routes where fortunes were made and lives were lost. Fragrance has always been more than perfume. It has been a language of power, of seduction, of status, and, at times, of control. If you go back thousands of years before borders and before modern maps, the first perfumes were nothing more than smoke. Priests in Mesopotamia burned resins, frankincense, myrrh, materials so rare they were smuggled across deserts like contraband. These weren't luxuries you splashed on your skin. They were sacred signals, offerings to gods, tools of authority. The richer and more intoxicating the smoke, the closer you appeared to the divine. In that sense, fragrance wasn't beauty, it was power. In Egypt, that power took on an even sharper edge. Cleopatra, the queen who rewrote the art of seduction, was said to drench the sails of her ship in perfume so that her arrival could be smelled before it was seen. Imagine that. Entire fleets moving like shadows on the Nile, leaving a trail of scent that announced not just her presence, but her dominance. Perfume in her hands was a weapon, an invisible army that disarmed without drawing a single blade. Then came Rome, where excess was not a flaw, but a way of life. Roman generals and emperors demanded oils and spices from the farthest corners of the empire, turning fragrance into one of the most lucrative and contested trades of the ancient world. Public baths were infused with rose water. Gladiators were oiled with exotic spices before stepping into the arena. To smell of abundance was to be untouchable. And behind every amphora of cinnamon or vial of myrrh was a dangerous journey. Caravans crossing deserts, ships braving storms, merchants playing a game where fortunes could vanish overnight. While much of Europe descended into chaos after Rome fell, the Middle East carried the flame of fragrance forward. Alchemists in Persia and Arabia perfected the art of distillation. Rosewater was born. Alcohol as a carrier was discovered. These were not minor achievements. They were guarded secrets, technologies that could transform kingdoms. Fragrance was no longer just burned or applied crudely. It became an art of precision, a coded luxury that defined culture, trade, and status. Control over scent meant control over influence. Centuries later, in France, fragrance became theater. The court of Louis XIV, the so-called perfume king, reeked of roses, jasmine, and musk. Versailles, for all its beauty, was a place of filth, disease, and decay, and scent became the mask that made life bearable. But it was more than survival. It was performance. To out-perfume your rivals was to outshine them socially and politically. Each blend was a signature, a calling card, a declaration of who you were and how you wished to be remembered. By the 19th century, science pushed fragrance into a new era. Synthetic molecules meant that scent could finally be democratized. No longer the guarded secret of kings and queens, fragrance became available to anyone with money in their pocket. But that democratization sparked a new kind of war. Guerlain, Chanel, Dior, these were not just fashion houses. They were dynasties fighting for formulas like cartels fighting for territory. A single secret recipe could be worth millions, and behind the glamour of crystal bottles and advertising campaigns lay an economy built on obsession, control, and addiction. And here's the irony: fragrance has always behaved like contraband. It moves quietly across borders, passed hand to hand, from distillers in Grasse to designers in Paris to consumers in New York or Tokyo. It thrives on scarcity and status. It hooks people, makes them chase, makes them crave. One whiff can trigger memory, desire, obsession. And once it gets under your skin, you can't stop wanting more. From the smoke of ancient temples to the synthetic labs of today, fragrance has never just been about smelling good. It has been about survival, seduction, status, and above all, power. Each drop carries centuries of history wrapped in secrecy and danger. So the next time you open a bottle and press it against your skin, remember, what you're wearing isn't just a fragrance. It's the echo of empires, the scent of seduction, the trace of danger that has followed humanity through every age. Because fragrance doesn't just tell a story, it writes one.